It is 7 o'clock, and you know what that means. It's time for the main event. As you can see right now, B-Love is not here. He's on a little weekend getaway with his lovely bride. So we have Paulie the car guy filling in. We've got some Olympic talk coming up. We just had the MLB trade deadline just passed this past weekend. The Rays were not as big as movers as we thought they were going to be. NHL hot stove is hotter than ever. The Bucs are killing it at training camp. So stay tuned. This is the main event. Yes. Welcome, Paulie.
Hey, boys. How you doing?
Thank you for filling in for B-Love as he's on a weekend getaway.
I can only aspire to be half the man that B-Love is. So hopefully he's enjoying his time. So, yes. Thanks, boys.
Poober, did you say TSG was going to be here today?
TSG, are you going to be here?
I'm here. I am here.
Yeah, I hear him. I don't see him.
Yeah, it's all the camouflage back there.
Yes. Hang on. You see this, right?
Yeah. There he is.
There we go.
Okay.
Hey, since we're on that, can we talk about this?
Look at this. All right. So for those who don't know, Paulie is wearing one of our softball T-shirt jersey uniforms from it's got to be 15 years old.
It's longer than that. I mean, I moved back to North Carolina in 2006. So circa 2002, 03 probably. It's 18 years old. It's older than all of our children, basically.
Oh, my gosh.
Oh, yes. I'm going to put some money together and get you a new T-shirt, man.
Look at that.
Come on.
Look, it's not even threadbare. And the bigger thing is I fit in it, boys. That's the big thing right now.
I was going to say, congratulations for being able to fit.
It's yeah. I mean, it's still as beautiful as ever.
And you know what? The timeless font, that is so timeless. Like it's got that 70s style font, but it works. It still works today.
Shoulder up. Keep the shoulder up.
Keep your shoulder up.
Yes, shoulder up.
Every at bat.
Every at bat for everybody.
That's right.
So before we get into any of this sports talk that we've got lined up, you want to go over some of the news in the car market, what's happening in car sales and car purchasing?
Yeah. So if any of you have been in the market or heard the market, it is still a really, really tough market. Obviously, computer chips dominate the news right now, or the lack thereof. Every manufacturer is facing it. We feel like, especially Japanese guys, we're going to come out of this hopefully first quarter next year. Some of the domestics are doing okay, but it's 15 years in the business. It's a crazy time. Prices, Cliffy, prices are up as I guess you just bought a car, and it's not so much the prices alone, but it's also just finding decent stuff to buy. From lease turn-ins, from trucks having addendums added to it. It's a very, very, very crazy time.
Now, last time we had you on, I happened to be looking for a car for my daughter. She was graduating high school, and we were helping her buy her first new car. She traded in her old car, her old used car.
Yes.
And the car she picked out was a Kia. Nothing fancy, obviously it's a good first new car, but we got it for the price we wanted, which was less than the other Kia that we own. That's 2 or 3 years old. And there was plenty of them. There was a problem with the color choice. She had chosen one color, and we had that sold, and we had to wait, or we chose a different color. So I didn't get that sense of what we're talking about. I know that it's happening. I've seen it on other manufacturers, but for Kia, I don't know if that's just not the case, or if I just got into a lucky delivery or whatever.
Well, twofold to that. First of all, the Japanese and the Korean market, those guys never really canceled their order with the chip manufacturers as much as the domestics and the European guys, Mercedes, BMW, Audi. So you're going to find that the Kias and Hyundais, Toyotas, Lexus, luxury arm, Honda, Acura, Infiniti, they're going to fare a little bit better than the Fords and Chevrolets, and again, all of the European guys, Audi, BMW, Mercedes. But right now, with trucks and the situation in Louisville is the same with chips and foam for the seats, and they're building trucks. A lot of people are building trucks without electronics and without any of the safety features, blind spot parking sensor. People need them so bad they're just buying base, literally roll up window trucks to have available.
Paul, I got kind of two questions for you. So, yeah, I did overpay. I might have made an overpay, but we weren't able to buy the car that he wanted.
Yes.
I mean, he wrecked his car. That was
yeah,
so,
right.
So anyway, he did get a car. I think it's gonna be a safe ride. Anyway, let's move on from that. Okay, so two things that are blowing my mind right now. Number one, I'm taking a trip next weekend.
Yes.
Rentals. We're going to Charleston. Can't get a rental, by the way. And rental cars are like, we don't have any rentals. And I feel that probably has something to do with the next part of my question. And you mentioned this in the green room, talking about the lease turn-ins. That's blowing my mind that they're not accepting turn-ins from leases. Tell me, what is going on with these two situations? Are they intertwined or
they
not?
are? So So the way leasing companies work, and I don't care if it's domestic, whoever's emblems on the front, your Avises and your Hertz, they all in the beginning of the pandemic knew that it was going to affect them. So what they did was they sold off all of their inventory other than just bare bones. Well, the marketplace came back way faster than anybody in our industry thought it would. The other thing is, you got to think about this. Everybody was working from home. Now, people don't want to take things like Ubers and Lyfts because they don't know who was in it before them. They also, let's talk about these huge areas, like even where you guys are, and bigger than New York's, Philadelphia, Los Angeles. Everybody that lives in those dense populations have said, you know what? I'm not taking public transportation. I'm moving out to the suburbs. A family of 4 has no cars. Now they have to have 4 cars. Well, it stretches the market to the point there's no inventory, and now you overpay and you wait. The leasing companies, because of valuation of used cars, and remember, every leased car, the day after it leaves the lot, is a used car. It's 1 day old, but it is a used car. So they're saying, okay, if I've got a 3-year lease on a Lexus, BMW, Mercedes, Honda, whatever, and it's 3, 6, 9 months or right at the lease term, leasing companies are saying you can't take that car and trade it with another manufacturer. And if you wanted to go out early, we're going to charge you an upfront and a higher acquisition fee. And, we're just physically not going to let you turn the car in until the term is up. So it's twofold, which is why you couldn't find a used car to buy your son, because there's nothing out there.
Wow.
That acquisition, is that a change where, I'm not really familiar with leases. Are you normally able to turn your car in early if you have a lease?
So the way leasing companies and the way leases typically work is you sign for, the 2 most popular are 36 or 48 months. If you're going to go back to the same manufacturer, let's say, my brand, let's say Lexus. If a guy leased a car from me 3 years ago and he wants to come back with the same brand, it doesn't even have to be the same model. I can start calling him about 4 to 6 months away from his lease term end and say, look, are you ready to trade? You ready to turn it in? Whatever. We can pull him forward to another car, and there's no fees for overage and mileage. There's no fees for transition, and we just start him fresh in a brand new lease. So our leasing company has said you guys can still do business that way because it's such a huge part of our business. However, other brands, i.e., especially the domestics and the Kias and the Hyundais of the world, because of valuation variance, they may have a car where it may be worth $6,000, $7,000, $8,000 more than what the lease residual or the buyout is at the end. What they don't want you as a consumer to do is to go and sell it or trade it and recoup all of that cash and then have nothing to buy. So they're basically turning a consumer, into a used car dealer, that and the leasing companies and the distributors like me, they don't want that to happen, because it also prevents a guy like me from trading for a car that may be, obviously there's valuation, but the leasing customer, may not be up for 4 or 5 months, but in years past, they couldn't trade it because of the value. Now anybody can trade anything.
If you've got a question about cars or leases or car sales, go ahead and leave a comment for Paulie. We'll let him answer that, and we'll get back to you. And let us know if you've had a problem finding a new car to purchase right now in this market. What kind of problem that was, what kind of car you were searching for, and let us know. We'll get back with you on that one.
Yeah, I'd be glad to help. Any way I can. It's but it's different. 15 years in the business, and it's never been like this before. Never. Crazy.
And how many industries can we say that about right now? Right? It seems like every time I'm talking with someone about an industry or a market or a product, it's always right now. Everyone says it's never been like this before.
Well, I mean, you think about appliances too. I mean,
yeah.
We had to buy a dishwasher, and I'm telling you, that was an ordeal in and of itself. So anybody that's got a busted refrigerator or dishwasher or washer and dryer, I mean, it's crazy, trying to get stuff like that.
Yeah, but building materials, lumber, metals, they're all crazy.
Yeah.
The real estate market. It's directly affecting TSG. He's doing some improvements on his home, not by choice, kind of by necessity, right?
Yeah, my house flooded back in November with a storm, and I'm still recovering. I'm in the next hurricane season, and I haven't finished repairing from the last hurricane season, waiting 4 months for a window and waiting and being pushed out another month for countertops. So 5 months delay just on supplies.
It's crazy. And all those things have effects on other things. So, if lumber price is up, it increases the cost of homes. If home sales are up, it increases all the other land and real estate value in that area. So, I mean, it's this compounding effect on all these different markets and industries. And it's just, it's getting exhausting hearing that phrase that it's never been like this before.
I want to be in the storage unit building right now. Around here, I played golf last Sunday with a guy that owns 5 different fronts. He is 97% occupied. And since the pandemic, anybody that's come up, he's gone up at least 15 to 20% in rent on a unit. I mean, here 10 by 10 is costing.
Yeah.
Guess
where a big portion of my stuff is waiting for this house to be done. Guess where a big portion of it is?
Wow. So you got a storage. You've got a couple $100 a month in storage.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know I was at TSG's house the other day, and that must be where his air conditioner is. I think it must be in that storage unit.
Wow.
Hey, I can't help you. You're sweating bullets in the studio, man. Chief was working those vocals.
Oh my gosh.
We are working
so, Paul,
on our.
What do you think's the end
short.
here? What's the end game here? It's chips. Okay, so I keep hearing chips is the problem. But then, like people are saying, it's all across, essentially all trades. You even said, dishwashers. But I mean, where's the chip need in wood? Where's the chip need in aluminum? I don't know where that's at. So I mean, it's got to be more than just chips. I think. Well, you actually told us about, but Ford is making trucks, right?
Yeah. Yes, well, they're building the trucks. But here's the other thing too. Here's something else to consider. So we get a report every day, and 75% of what we sell, and anybody that imports, and including Ford Chevrolet, if they build it in Mexico. Here's a great example. 2 years ago, if a car that was built in Japan landed in Jacksonville, Florida, which is the port for the southern area, okay, that car physically was offloaded the container in Jacksonville. It showed on my computer system, okay, that car is on the ground. In 5 to 7 business days, that car would be on my lot for sale. It would go through customs. It would be dispatched to the transportation company, and it would be in on my storefront. The same car today is taking 2 to 3 to 4 weeks longer under the same process because A, it's slower unloading, less bodies, less workers, slower through customs, slower through port facilities, slower to dispatch, less truck drivers, still with, the federal government doing what they're doing with stimulus and everything else. So the same car that lands in Jacksonville, Florida, I may not see for 4 to 6 weeks. And that's not just my brand, that's all brands. Anybody that's imported, and then, let's say cars built in Mexico or Canada, it's just slower. Everything's slower. Rail systems, transportation systems, and that's a trickle down across industries.
Speaking of shipping, did I share with you guys the story I read about the containers and the return trips? I read a story about another reason why there's a lack of raw materials and supply, and it was because so the Asia and Europe, when they send a container ship full of those containers, and the containers are full of goods, we receive those. Sometimes they're offshore for a few weeks getting processed, going through customs and all that kind of stuff. We have the longshoremen to unload them. They're getting unloaded, but we are not, as a country, as an economy, we are not producing things that they want to go back.
That's
because
right.
Our production has been down and slower, and 2, because of some of the tariff problems the tariffs that were issued during the last administration. So we're not. There's no value in sending back a ship with empty. So they're not doing it with material, and they don't want to go back empty. So that's one. And so they are having to go back empty. That's one of the reasons why you're paying so much for things, because you're paying twice for the shipping, basically.
Well, everyone's trying to figure out what to do with these shipping containers. I mean, you've seen them go from tiny houses to people. I know places that have them in their yards as storage units, and
they're making bomb shelters out of them too.
There you go. So what we need to do is figure out what we can do with these things, because you can buy a shipping container for like $500. I mean, that's dirt cheap for what you're getting. Yeah, these things are, they're sturdy, strong. There's a lot of steel involved here. There's got to be something we can do with these things.
We can turn it into housing for the homeless.
Can we put a motor in it and wheels on it, Paul? And
yes, we can.
Put a window out in the front.
Hey, they're making granny pods out of them up here. I sell a car to a guy that got into this business, and he's a fabricator, and he was in the mobile home industry before, and just like Cliff, just like you said, man, he goes down to the port of Wilmington, the port of Charleston in Miami, and buys these things by the truckloads, and comes up here and sells them to the secondary home market as granny pods. Up here the regulations are not quite as strict, and if you don't have an HOA and you want to move your 87-year-old mother, father, grandmother, grandfather into your backyard, you put them in a granny pod, man, and off you go. And, they live there for 2, 3, 5, 7 years until they can't anymore. And then you sell it as scrap. So, it's a huge industry up here.
Thinking outside the box. I don't know if I told the story the other night or not, but a guy that TSG and I both know had traveled to Virginia, couldn't get a rental car. So what he did was he rented a U-Haul van, $19.95 a day. He was like, that's what he, when you're out of options, that's what you do.
My cousin did that. I feel like I shared that story too, but she flew into somewhere in Louisiana. She's a big sports fan, so she goes lots of sporting events. Flew in for a sporting event in the weekend. Either missed her flight and couldn't rent a car, or something happened, but she ended up in a U-Haul van going to I think she went to Jacksonville or Daytona. She went to Daytona after that. I'm like, that's very resourceful.
It absolutely is fantastic. It's way cheaper than a rental car. A minimum, you're going to be $50, $60 a day. That's at the minimum. I've seen them, over $100 a day.
Probably not as comfortable.
Oh yeah,
it's comfortable.
Got the air ride suspension, but we going up and down.
we're not walking. We're not walking.
Right.
Yeah. We've got increased consumption, but we've got lack of materials, and we've got lack of labor.
That
mixture together until we get, and there's a lot of people out there that could be working as well. I know this because I have a family member who owns a restaurant. He owns 3 restaurants, and people are coming in and they're interviewing solely so they can go back and prove that they get an interview,
right?
But they don't want the job.
No intention of keeping the job.
Yeah.
I just heard TSG say that he has a family that owns 3 restaurants, and we've never had a free meal.
Nor have we even been. And just
that's why the restaurants are still open, boys.
Yes, that's exactly right.
Still, I think we need to do a taste test. Go by and check it out.
Yeah, well, 2 of them are up in New York, so we have to fly.
Don't want to go there, but we
Manhattan.
If there's anyone closer, maybe.
Yeah, there's 2 here.
Okay.
Yeah,
I think I've been to one actually.
Yeah,
you told me about one when I went. So, all right. So again, if you've got comments or questions about the car business, car sales, if you're searching for a car and need some help, put a comment down. We'll get back to you. Even if we're not watching this video live, comment on it. We'll be sure to respond and get you the right answer, or the answer you want to hear.
Absolutely.
All right, moving on. So Friday was the trade deadline for Major League Baseball. The Rays, whom we all thought were going to be huge players, ended up just kind of sticking their toe in the water a little bit. And since then, they've actually lost Tyler Glasnow officially for the season. He is going to have Tommy John surgery. Wasted 2 months of recovery time, basically. Missed out on that. So we're not going to see him until probably after the All-Star break next season. Maybe be ready for the playoffs next season. Anyway, so Major League Baseball, there was several moves that were made. The Rays really weren't in on any of those. Let's hear you guys' thoughts on what they did pick up. They did pick up Nelson Cruz. That was the big one.
Yep.
We knew about that last week. Yeah, but to me, we got rid of Diego Castillo, who was I know we don't actually have him labeled as a closer, but that's pretty much what he was. He was the most frustrating player that we had on the entire team.
Yes.
Because, this is a guy, he could go out there and get 2 outs right away. And as soon as somebody got on base, Seattle's got him. Good luck, Seattle, man. Yes. On paper, I think his ERA was like 1.66. Something around that.
But watching him every night. It
doesn't really matter. Watch him every night. With a 1-run lead. Just,
you don't feel safe
because it's going to be rough.
He's like the cardiac kid, huh?
Yeah, so
you don't feel safe as a fan.
You don't,
Yeah.
He's going to be their closer. Seattle's, they're selling him as their closer. Well, good luck, guys.
Vaya con Dios.
Yeah. So, we picked up
Vaya con Dios, Castillos.
Yeah, we picked up JT. I don't know how to say his name. Chargros.
Fargois. Chargois.
Fargois.
Pardon me. Chargois.
Yeah.
So he's 30 years old. I know that. I haven't had a chance to see him. The Rays are actually playing right now.
So he came in on Friday, I believe.
Yeah, I didn't get to see it Friday.
Went 1-2-3. Did a great job.
Right. By the way, the Rays also took it to the Red Sox yesterday. Put the Rays back on top of the AL East by half a game. Nicely done there. First place again.
First place.
Yeah. So I think this guy, from what I understand, he's not a 3-and-out pitcher. He's got the ability. He's more of a bridge pitcher. He can go 2, maybe 3 innings in cases like that, which is something that I think we could use.
Well, here's a little something from the outside eyes looking in too, boys. You got to think about where you guys play baseball. These middle reliever and closers, you got to get guys in there that keep the ball down, because that ballpark in St. Pete is a spot where hitters typically thrive, both the Rays hitters and other hitters. So the kid that they shipped out to Seattle, he may do better out there in that heavier air, and he may not, and for a lot of pitchers, just change the scenery. So,
he wasn't performing poorly. He was getting the job done.
Yeah.
He had, like Chief just said, he had great stats on paper. It was just frustrating to watch him. He threw a lot of the balls in the dirt, and it's fine. I didn't have any qualms about him leaving one bit. I guess I was looking for. I really was hoping they were going to get Scherzer or maybe even Charlie Morton back from the Braves. That was a big rumor. So I don't know what Neander did, dangling what kind of bait out there. But they did not make any huge moves. They brought in several relievers, which, by the way, Brian Anderson alluded this to the game. I think it was last night, maybe it was Friday night. He said, if Neander and the Rays are calling you about one of your relievers, you better go reevaluate that reliever immediately.
How about it?
Yeah.
Because they have a great habit of taking relievers and turning them into the best bullpen in the bigs.
Right.
So yeah, very interesting.
Hey, by the way, I was wrong. Castillo, this year he has a 2.72 ERA. Last year he was 1.66.
Yeah.
Hey, in Tampa, 2.72 is still very, very respectable.
Paul, you're 100% right on that evaluation, which I hadn't considered. The drop. If you're the type of pitcher that's going to rely on fly ball outs, you're not going to.
You're in trouble.
You're going to put them out. You're going to put them out of the park. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So,
and that's the
Rays. I
Rays.
considered that before.
That's the Rays formula: is pitching and above standard defense. They have the best defense, and they put the shifts on. They put everyone in the right positions to succeed. It has to be tight up the middle. That's why you see people like Brandon Lau, who is a fantastic defensive second baseman.
Yes.
His batting average, which is the measure a lot of people use to weigh a player's worth, a batter's worth, is terrible. I think he's batting 200, 220 maybe. I think it's actually up a little bit. He's been hitting pretty good.
Yeah, but he's a defensive star, bro, and that's immeasurable.
You're never going to see a DJ LeMay, at least as long as the current administration is running the Rays. You're never going to see a DJ LeMahieu, who is one of the game's best hitters. He's 9 foot tall. He's a terrible second baseman defensively, but because the Rays thrive on having that glove behind him, behind the pitcher, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah.
So,
if we go back to at the beginning of baseball season when we made our bold predictions.
Yeah. I have those right here.
Yeah, I think one of my bold predictions is that the roster, the starting day roster for the Rays, would have a 50% change by mid-season, and I think
it's not a huge stretch, Cliffy.
I'm pretty close. I think I may have nailed it. So I think our starting day roster has changed at least 5.
See, I think I'm conflating these with last year's because I have you going with Adames goes error free.
No, that was definitely 2 years ago.
Actually, it could just be Adames goes.
I was opposed to that movie.
Actually, yours, Chief. You had the Rays sweeping the Yanks in New York. That was one of your predictions, and then I don't have the other one.
Yeah, it was by the roster. It was by midseason the roster would have a 50 by starting day roster had 50% change. So
what were we gonna say, TSG?
Who? So we also made picks on outside of the Rays. Who do we think was going to go to the World Series?
Yes.
And I think someone. I mean, we don't know this answer quite yet, but
we did. We did mid-season predictions.
I picked Chicago White Sox.
Yeah, you had the Dodgers and the White Sox. Yep.
That's a pretty good pick too.
Speaking of which, the Dodgers made the big
Scherzer
thump with the trade deadline. They picked up Scherzer and Trey Turner, who's a fantastic shortstop, to solidify their defense and give them more options. So they're in a battle with San Diego and San Francisco. Of course, San Francisco is winning right now. So they're trying to figure that out, but they made actually San Francisco picked up some players too. So they all made different moves, trying to one up each other, but the Dodgers were on paper the big winners.
Man,
Trey Turner, NC State boy too. Little homer plug there.
Oh, look at you!
We've got a comment coming in from Kevin Weber.
This guy.
Yeah,
Dodgers.
he's right.
Yeah,
there you go, man.
Go ahead if you want to read it there, Boo.
Kevin says the Dodgers have a $290 million payroll. Kevin, you care to comment on the Yankees payroll and what they did for the offseason or for the trade deadline? Kevin's a big Yankee fan. But they did. They made a big impact. They went after and got Anthony Rizzo, who has hit 2 home runs, I believe, in both of his games, as well as who was the other big bat they picked up? It's less than 290. He said the Yankees is less than 290.
Yeah.
Indeed it is. Gosh, it's escaping me who the other bat the Yankees picked up. Anybody remember?
Well, baseball needs a salary cap. Baseball needs a salary cap big time.
Oh, gosh. Ooh.
I mean, they do. It's not a fair playing field when these big markets can just go buy what they want at the end of the season.
I think they need more of a floor than they do a cap. Okay, so that's my.
You mean profit? You mean more profit sharing, Pooh Bear? Is that what you're talking about?
No, I mean, well, it would equal profit sharing, but it would be you have to spend X, right? Yeah. You have to spend X. You can spend whatever, but your floor has to be here.
That'll bankrupt 10 teams right now, though. I mean, you would not believe right now how many teams operate.
Why wouldn't you want to have a ceiling? The ceiling is the only fair way to really make it to where everyone.
Because I'm a capitalist, and whatever you want to pay, go pay. You know, it doesn't usually.
Yeah, well, you're playing a sport. You're playing a sport though, where everyone.
And if I'm a team owner,
but that's why football is so big, and that's why that's why football is so big, because all these teams have an opportunity, and so many different teams win the Super Bowl. It creates so many more fans. So whenever a small market team finally wins the Super Bowl, everyone becomes football fans. If baseball were to do the same thing, there'd be other markets more winning the World Series instead of always the Yankees, always the Red Sox, always these big market teams that can just spend always the Dodgers. Then you start creating more baseball fans in these other towns that win World Series and they're in the playoffs.
But it hasn't been. The Yankees haven't won a World Series in 20 years almost. You've got Houston. You've got Kansas City just won a few years ago. Yeah, I know.
But they're always in the playoffs. They're always at the top. They're always, you know what I mean? They can buy their way in there. You know, maybe they can't buy their World Series all the time.
Sure, but what's the small market team that has been on the cusp that hasn't been able to perform?
Seattle Mariners.
They haven't really been on the cusp. They've been either good or they've been terrible. They're selling.
San Diego Padres. There's another.
That's a big market team.
They're in it right now.
And by the way, 2009 is when the New York Yankees won their last World Series. That's
not 20 years ago.
It's only 11. That's only 11 years.
Okay, whatever.
Yeah. How about this?
I just like insulting the Yankee fan. That's all.
Well, I don't have a problem with that.
So listen, do you guys know that the Rays payroll for this year is only $44 million? Of that $44 million, Kevin Kmeyer accounts for $11.5 million of that.
Yeah, 25%.
That is absolutely not money well spent. You are not getting. You're getting the defense. You are not getting the offense. He is I watched him the other night go 0 for again. I mean, I don't know how many games this year he's done.
I was really hoping he was one of the pieces that was being offered up, to other teams.
Well, you know why he wasn't traded?
Nobody's interested in it.
Well, yeah, $11 million a year is not proving his worth. Yeah, I mean.
And Kevin Weber has said that we deserve it.
We being the Yankees.
Mm-hmm.
He works for them.
Yeah.
So he doesn't really work for them, but he thinks he'd love to. He'd make an excellent.
Is he the George Costanza of the Yankees? Is he that in that role or?
No. He actually lives in California, but he'd make an excellent cameraman and technical person for the Yankee network. I bet. He's really good with that stuff. All right. So that's enough of baseball. NFL training camp is heating up.
Woo! Oh my gosh! First game this week.
Coming up is we get the Hall of Fame game on Thursday, and
Cowboys. That's our opening day appointment. The Cowboys, our opponent.
Yes,
Dallas Cowboys. So we get a good look at them on Thursday.
Did I see where Jerry
Cowboy fan?
Yes, he is. Did I see where Jerry Jones said this was going to be a David versus Goliath game one with the Cowboys and Buccaneers? Did I see that right?
Yeah,
which one are we? Which one are we? I'm not sure who that is.
Well, as long as you have Tom Brady, you're the Goliath. Trust me. So
we got the goat.
We got the goat.
We do have the goat.
That is, So, and Dak's got a busted shoulder, arm, elbow again. So I mean, it's not good. So
Dak's coming back from the shattered foot, right? Mm. That was the horrible injury last season. We all felt terrible for him. Nobody wanted to see him, go out like that. but he's back. They're going to be on Hard Knocks. I think that first episode, it may drop tonight.
Next week. Oh, is it this week or next week? Yeah, I think I saw a blur, but
yeah, I don't have HBO, so I don't know. And they're showing old ones, and the Cowboys have been on it before, so they kind of pump those up, and you see the little clips on those on YouTube and stuff. And it's like, I don't know if this is a new one or old one. I'm lost.
Yeah, the best clip on YouTube. The best clip on YouTube right now is when they asked Jerry Johnson the other day about Jerry Jones about Jimmy Johnson. I guess you guys saw that when he said up. So we'll keep it politically correct for all our fans. But if you haven't seen that on YouTube, that's a soundbite that you have to go find. It's the best.
This is a new revelation from Jerry Jones.
Yes.
He's just now admitting to making a mistake by firing. Wow.
Yes, and he drops an F-bomb in front of God and everyone to see. But yeah, it's good stuff. So anyway,
not that we're a big Cowboys talking show here, but the Cowboys have had some bad luck when it comes to quarterbacks. Tony Romo, he was always injured. He was a good quarterback. He was a great quarterback, but he was injured. And now you got the injuries with Dak, and then of course you got the curse of having Hard Knocks, hosting Hard Knocks, which is a curse. So I'm hoping that Dak is rusty enough, being out so long, playing that first game against us, that we get lucky and don't get the best of him, and the Bucs kind of get a good win, because Tom Brady's been on many New England Patriots teams where they started off rough, but they just keep working at the details, and then they end up like they did last year, fixing everything. And
he's a slow starter traditionally.
Yeah.
So, but speaking of F-bombs, there were a couple dropped from Tom Brady and Bruce Arians this week on, I believe it was Thursday. After an off day, the Bucs had a terrible practice. They didn't seem prepared. They didn't seem, to be engaged. And in the post-practice conferences, both of those two men let it fly and showed their, that they were not pleased with what they had seen in that morning.
If you're a player, who do you think is more impactful by saying that you weren't ready to play?
It's got to be Brady
or Tom Brady.
Got to be Brady. Listen, those guys respect Brady so much.
It's Tom Brady too, man.
Yeah,
I think Tom Brady stepping up and being a leader is
Absolutely.
way more effective even than Bruce Arians.
I agree with you, Chief. Listen, what happens in any sporting team that you've been on or that I've been on? The guy who produces is the one who's got the say. Is the one that people respect.
He's got the floor. Listen, y'all said it, and again, as eyes looking from the outside in now, when Arians handed the reins over to Brady last year and said, okay, it is your offense, it is your team, look what happened. I mean, for a while they wanted to butt heads, and Arians wanted to do things kind of his way and maybe let Brady. As soon as he said, look, you do it the way you know how to do it, they got measurably better.
So we heard from one of the greats of our time, speaking of greats this week, that he was not offered that opportunity to say those things or to have those things said to him from his ownership. Aaron Rodgers had his big press conference, finally spoke to the media about how he didn't feel he was being consulted or involved in decision-making. And I know we've got some thoughts on that. TSG, you had some big thoughts on that.
So from February of this year till now, the following has transpired. Okay. He let management know, like you just said, that he works out with a lot of players in the offseason. And he's got a lot of players that contact him and say that they want to play with him and they want to play at the Green Bay Packers because they want an opportunity to win a championship. And they are at that point. And he said, hey, I'm willing to offer my services and contribute to the scouting information on these players. I'm even willing to make a phone call to recruit people. Hence, kind of like the power that Tom Brady has to bring the Gronk in and other players. It can be beneficial for a team when these players, they're unique. Not all players can do this, but players like Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady can. And they can bring in big name receivers. They'll probably even take a pay cut, some of these guys. So if you utilize maybe Aaron Rodgers' services, you might be able to benefit. He also expressed a concern about how many ex-players were treated while they were when they weren't either re-offered a contract or they were really lowballed or they were just shown the door. And he stated that, he did not feel that guys of good character, good locker room guys, and just did not deserve the treatment that they got on their way out of the Green Bay Packers organization. And he expressed that to management. And he also realized that's how some people can get treated, and that he's not any exception really at some point. And he says, hey, I'd like to know about my future. And you know what they said to him? They said, oh, we'll let you know. I said, we'll see how things go. And he says, okay. So then he comes back to the table with an offer from Denver and says, hey, guys, since you guys are kind of just want to see how it goes, or you're not really sure what you want to do with me, I have this great opportunity over here at this other team. So what do you think? And then they're like, oh, no. We want you. You're our guy. Or, all of a sudden they changed their tune. And hence here we are. A lot of stuff happened. And there was a lot of talk on the media, and now he just let it all out. And of course they try to throw money at him, which they did. So, but he's back in camp. And what do you guys think?
So, we had a glimpse inside this Packers administration when they did this to Brett Favre.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Brett Favre deserved, for everything that he's given to that team, he deserved more than to be having his lock taken away or his access card taken away from the facility that he'd been worked at almost his entire career. Okay. So they didn't treat Brett Favre very well. Like you said, TSG, there were other pros on that team that they absolutely just were disrespectful to. And I think what we're going to see going forward here is that the administration is going to lose the locker room. We've seen it. It's been made public now. They're going to lose the locker room. We've seen it happen with other teams, and it's going to be a change. The ownership is going to have to make a change, and they're going to have to decide who they want to go with. Do they want to go with administration, or do they want to go with the players? And I'm going to tell you, 90% of the time, I believe that going with the players is wrong. We saw them with Andy Reid and the Eagles. They didn't choose the coach. They chose the players, and they've been a disaster ever since. However, in this case, I believe that when you're disrespectful to the people that work for you, they're honest, good people that come in and work hard and perform, that you've lost everybody. And I think in this case, the administration needs to go, because I don't see any way they can save this. They've lost the locker room leadership. They are losing vets. All the rumors that these guys have heard about in the past are now out there, and it's going to take a miracle for the organization as a whole to survive this and be successful. I really think the administration goes before the year's out.
So hey, look what happened to Rich Look what happened to Rich McKay in Tampa. I'll just say that. So anyway.
Oh, you ain't kidding.
Yeah,
you ain't kidding.
Tampa suffered a long time after that.
Yep.
So my comment about Aaron Rodgers' speech, his statement, whatever, specifically to not being involved from general management and the ownership with decision making, right? Player decision making. He feels that he could have or should have been used, and I'm okay with that to a limit, right? So, hey, we're thinking about bringing in, Bob Smith. He's a terrific wide receiver. He fits in the salary that we want to pay. Are you okay with that? I'm okay with that. But when he wants to make decisions about, yes, I want this guy, I want that guy, I want that guy, you're not going to be the one that gets fired when those guys don't work out. That's the general manager. That's why he does that job. And that's why he has the understanding of the salary cap, what he can afford to pay based on what he's been given from ownership and from the league. He is the one that's going to be on the line if those guys don't perform, not Aaron Rodgers. They're not going to come and say, oh, well, Aaron Rodgers wanted, this Reggie Cobb as the receiver. Let's get him out of town. No, they're going to fire either the coach, they're going to fire Cobb, they're going to fire the coach, and they're probably going to fire the GM. So that's the problem I have with players being involved in decision-making, because it's not their livelihood on the line. As it goes far as, can you get along with this guy? Do you think he's a good fit for our team? We've got this choice between A and B. Which would you rather see? I'm perfectly okay with that. And if that's what he's talking about, so be it. He's right. They should have done that. But if he's saying that he wanted to say who could come and block for him or who could come and receive passes from him, he's absolutely 100% wrong.
And there's two sides to every story, right? So he's making it seem
Absolutely.
like right now, and the administration is not going to come out because at this point they've got him at camp, right?
Right.
They don't want to lose the guy, right? And they've probably done. There's been some wrongdoing, but I think Pooh Bear makes a really good point here. He's making it seem like I just wanted to be in the conversation, and maybe maybe that is true, and that would be okay. Like you said, it's limited. You get an opinion. But it doesn't, if you don't get your way, it's not, right.
Because that's the other flip side. What happens when they disagree with you and say, no, we like your idea, but we're going to go a different direction. Now are you going to be a whiny baby?
Yeah. Cause the GM gets, like you said, he's the one that's going to get fired
mm-hmm.
or the coach, if he's involved or however that's going to play out. So being in the conversation, I get that's respectable. Plus he probably has a really good inside information, a professional opinion where he sees some things that it could benefit the team in some way or not benefit the team in some way. But like you said, at this point, administration is not going to get an opportunity to tell, because it may have been earlier in this deal where he was like, he may have been a little more demanding. It may not have been so, it may not have been such a democratic, approach that he had. It was a little more of a,
he probably didn't bring the same tone that he brought on Wednesday or Thursday, whenever that press conference was. He probably didn't bring that.
Oh, there's a whole lot of difference between behind closed doors and then once media gets a hold, and he's at this point, he's just trying to save face and be everybody's buddy. And listen, in the grand scheme of things, Aaron Rodgers should have won more than one Super Bowl. We all know that. He's got the talent to have won more. The other thing is he's got more money than he'll ever need to spend. So financially, it doesn't matter to him anymore. So now he can be a little bit rogue. He can be that maverick, and he can finally say stuff that 10, 12 years ago he wouldn't dare say. So again, you got to look at all different angles, and he wants to air some dirty laundry too. Only because after next year he's going to be a free agent. He's not going to be in Green Bay after next year. Now, and he wants to do what Brady did. He wants to go somewhere for a contender and maybe have that last chance to win one more Super Bowl and cement his career. That's what he wants.
Don't forget, this is not just about Aaron Rodgers. This has been going on for years at Green Bay.
Yes,
and I still contend that it is about respect.
Yes, I agree.
The administration is disrespectful, and that goes a long way towards
Well, they are the most unique ownership franchise.
Yes,
yeah, I mean ownership is different, and I mean
that's where this all comes from. It comes from having a strong owner, which they really don't have. So I think that's kind of part of it.
Even Aaron said, hey, listen, Green Bay doesn't have what Florida has. He said, we don't have a great vacation spot to offer.
Right.
We don't have, he started mentioning these things. He goes, so what we do have is these guys that want to come play with me.
Right.
And they're willing to take maybe a pay cut. And I could bring that to you. So, hey, I'm here. Use me, guys. Let's do it. He's saying, I want to win a Super Bowl. He goes, he's saying in his head, Tom Brady is not as talented as me. And I only have one Super Bowl.
So
he's so mad.
I'm going to say something to you guys right now that made B-Love's jaw drop the other night when we were driving down to TSG's house. So Tom Brady probably has this year, let's say they go out and win again, he's done. Aaron Rodgers just closed out his one-year deal in Green Bay. He's now a free agent. What if?
Oh, God.
The Buccaneers close the Brady chapter and open up the Rodgers chapter and don't miss a beat. I put it out there. There it is.
No. Aaron Rodgers is not going to play sloppy seconds to Tom Brady and take over his team, because it'll be Aaron Rodgers won with Tom Brady's team. He's not going to do that.
Ooh, that's a good point.
Although I wouldn't hate it if it happened.
Okay, that's where I'm going with that. That's where I was going.
Yes.
We're running out of time. Let's get to my favorite part of the show.
Yeah, we're almost. Oh, hang on. I gotta get back to my. There it is. Stand by. You can't fix stupid is starting to turn into you can't fix Florida man.
Or it's got to be airplane or Florida. It's one of the two, So
air passengers or Florida man.
No, which one is it tonight?
It is Florida man tonight.
I know.
Florida man in Jacksonville is at a zoo, decides to pass over one barrier to get a closer look at a Jaguar. Not a car, not an XF, a Dora the Explorer Jaguar. Sticks his arm in the cage to pet the Jaguar, and the Jaguar promptly starts to begin to remove his arm. Yes. Doesn't get the whole thing.
Who knew Jaguars were dangerous? Who knew? Everybody knew, but this guy doesn't go pet a cat. That's absolutely ridiculous. You can't fix stupid, man. That is absolutely insane.
So I'm going to go out on a limb and say that alcohol may have been involved. There may have been, some narcotics of some sort that caused him to do this.
Listen, I was at a zoo, and they had a demonstration of these big cats, right? And when they tell you about how fast these cats are and how quick they can climb trees and this stuff, okay, you hear it, you don't believe it or really understand it until you see it. And I am telling you, man, if a Jaguar wants you, he's got you. You cannot get away. It was absolutely amazing to see this thing. I was like, wow, there's no outrunning it. There's no climbing a tree to get away from it.
And you're probably not going to be able to fight it.
No, right? You don't have time to pull your gun. If you had a gun, you didn't have time to pull it, man.
Right. So a lot of times that's how animals in the wild get away from one of these big cats is they fight back somehow. Either they use a defense mechanism, their horns, or they use, water and evade it, something. But none of us are going to be able to do that.
What are we going to do?
Nothing. Maybe try to poke it in its eyes if it doesn't have its arm in your arm in its mouth.
My best hope is to outrun Pooh Bear. That's all. He's going to blow a Hemi.
I was going to say,
it'll be all right.
It's not attached anymore. You're going to win.
That's just like up here with the Bears. It's the same thing. And I'm close to the mountains, and you hear the same stories up here. People want to put corn down and feed the bears. Next thing you know, they're tearing people's doors down. So same thing.
It's crazy.
Was he trying to take a picture? I mean, what do we know any more than he was just trying to pet the cat?
Yeah, that's it. He just witness to say the unidentified man. There you go. He's unidentified. So let's hope he's not from Florida, but he's from
now the one
described as being in his 20s. Described as being in his 20s, had previously taunted the big cats before jumping over a barrier at the range of the Jaguar exhibit. That's the name of the exhibit, and inserting his hand into an enclosure.
Dude, those cats? If you sit there taunting them, they're just sitting there talking to each other, going, I wish that barrier wasn't there. I wish that we could just get to him because he wouldn't know what would hit him. And then they're like, oh my God, this is going to happen.
It's kind of like my front door. It's not there for my protection. It's there for yours, right? You cross that barrier, your life is now in danger, not mine.
Yeah.
Very similar to Jaguar, man. That barrier is there to protect you from the cat, not the cat from you.
Hey, imagine this, walking into Pooh Bear's house, and there you see 6'7" Pooh Bear going, hey, how you doing?
I don't say how you're doing.
He's not going to say how you're doing.
It's not going to say how you're doing.
No.
It doesn't sound like that. It sounds a little more violent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So anybody else have anything else for You Can't Fix Stupid? We only came up with one story.
No, we got one.
Man.
I mean, it's not really you can't fix
stupid,
but I mean you can't fix woke. How about that? Kansas City. Y'all say the Kansas City Chiefs have retired their mascot Warpaint. They had this cool horse who would come out at the beginning of the game. They got the hot chick riding it, and then they go out and get the crowd going. Well, they retired Warpaint because apparently the name is offensive. Warpaint. This is by the way. Hold on. This is exactly what the Cleveland Indians did just a couple years ago. They retired Chief Wahoo, and now they're the Guardians of Cleveland. Whoever knew, I don't know if Cleveland's being attacked or what, but now they're the Guardians. So
Cleveland Guardians sounds like a condom brand to me. But anyway, that's neither here.
Wow.
So yeah,
we're off the rails now. Here we
off
go.
The rails. So it wasn't because it's a horse. So this wasn't PETA coming after them for using a horse. It was the woke Native American defenders coming for the name Warpaint.
That's how I understand it. Yes.
So the Chiefs.
What's Florida State going to do? Are they going to keep Osceola from running
Chief
out on
Osceola?
the field with the. Yeah, I mean, that's a
let's
big deal
there,
in Tallahassee, man.
So, well, the Seminole tribe has come out for years and defended the Florida State Seminoles, saying they do the very best job of representing our heritage. If they were to stop representing us, we would go unknown.
Well,
right?
Yeah.
The FSU and the blackjack tables do the best job of representing
the tribe. And Seminole County in Central Florida. Similar to the Chicago Blackhawks. The Blackhawks is a tribute, and it is a way to honor that specific tribe who no longer exists for all intents and purposes.
Right.
So those tribes, I know for sure, have come out in favor of the sports teams being named after them and would like that to continue. So I'm not sure where the heat is coming from against Warpaint. I don't know if you're going to see it happen anymore against possibly the Braves or, whatever. They're just going to go after all the low-hanging fruit they can until they're finally satisfied, and then they'll come up with something else to bother with.
To me, it's an honor if you're going to name a team after, after someone or after a culture or, the Indians. Right. No one's going to name their team to do something negative. That's not what the point is. The point is to lift it and put them in a light. Like it's saying that they're strong. Or it's saying that we're tough.
Or to be intimidating.
And there's a great opportunity here so on the Indian reservations, you guys know that there's a lack of a lot of things, available resources on the Indian reservations. There's a lot of crime that goes on. There's a lot of things that happen on Indian reservations, and they could use this opportunity actually, instead of taking away and almost erasing the history or the representation for the tribes and Seminoles and things like that. They could utilize this opportunity to try and kind of pave a way to help some people on these reservations, perhaps maybe inform people more, and then talk about the history. I don't know. I think there's a better way than trying to kind of just get rid of it all. And then when you don't hear about,
and that's why one of my suggestions last week for new names instead of the Guardians, which is just an awful name. If you're going to change names, fine. It's your team. Do with it what you want. But if you're going to change it to something, and if you still want to show honor to what you described as Indians, which we all know weren't really Indians. Christopher Columbus thought he was landed in India, so he named them Indians, and it wasn't.
So true.
Well, wherever he landed, it was the Bahamas or someplace. Anyway, so if you want to name them the Native Americans, just change your name to the Cleveland Americans. That's a great name, and you can still pay tribute to all the indigenous people that were here. Or pick a specific tribe, just like the Blackhawks or the Seminoles. Work with a specific tribe. Say, hey, we're thinking about changing our name. Would you, as Chief Poobah of the tribe, like to have your tribe's name as our nickname? Work with them, and then, like you said, TSG, you can work with some sort of a financial reparations of your own good doing that goes back to their reservation, their tribe, and they can better the lives of their people for generations to come. Absolutely. This was a simple solution with a stupid outcome.
Yeah. So the only one I understand when it comes into this realm of all this that we're talking about is I understand the Redskins. It's a skin, when you start talking about skin color and stuff, and we're trying to get away from that in our world, just even thinking about skin color at all. Right. That's the one I understand. I get it, that one. But the rest of them, until I have some more information on why in different perspective, I think what you just said was what we should do.
Yeah. And again, they still haven't picked a name.
Yeah.
The Washington football team. So hopefully maybe that's the direction. Dan Snyder, if you watch this show, it's free. Okay. I'm not going to charge you for that idea. Take it, run with it, do with it what you will. But the Washington football team cannot stand. It has to have a nickname. We don't do those things here. This is not a European soccer team where you can just call it, Real
Arsenal.
Washington. Yeah. No. We need a nickname. And it needs to be plural. No more of these nicknames that are inanimate objects.
Singular.
Heat, magic, spark. Awful. Don't do it. Don't do it. Off my soapbox. All right.
There you go. Hey, preseason, just final thought for me. Preseason begins this week. I'm going to look for, how does preseason football change?
Yeah.
Only three games this year. Historically, really bad football, for watching doesn't really count for anything. I'm wondering, if we're going to see, more player time, less player time, how they're going to use that time. So that's just, what I'm looking for in preseason this year.
I want to see Kyle Trask.
Well, you got to,
you're going to see him.
You got to figure.
Sure.
Yeah. And Tim Tebow at tight end. There you go, boys. Does he make?
There you go.
I just saw video from the practice today. Trevor Lawrence just dropped a dime to Tebow in the back of the end zone in a full squad scrimmage. Oh my goodness, this could be something, folks. It's just practice.
Hey,
I would love it. I would love it for him to prove all the naysayers.
It's one video clip. I've never been a hater, but I've never been a fan. Like, I don't think he's, I think he's a great person. I just don't think he's a great athlete as everyone says he is. But I love being proved wrong too. So go out there, Mr. Tebow. Get some while you can.
Yeah. Hey, and the Yankees may win 5 games this year. So there you go. So
that'd be great. All right. Anybody got anything else before we go? Paulie, thank you so much for being here. Again, folks, if you're watching this and you've got a comment on car sales, car buying, car availability, car culture, cardiac arrest, we're your guy. Leave us a message. We'll get Paulie in touch with you and get back to you with your question. We don't want your question to go unanswered. We will be back again next Sunday at 7. Go BSBC Softball League. I think they're still a league. I don't know. I got to check with somebody on that. We'll be back again next Sunday at 7 o'clock live. Until then, say goodnight, Chief.
Good night.
Good having you, Paul.